Hey everybody, this is Crowdsource Politics again. I'm your host and moderator, Anthony Strain, and today I am joined by Matteo DeGaulle,
Hey,
and Sean Dixon.
What's up, everybody?
Dylan Capdevilla was supposed to join us today, but sadly he could not make it last minute. If he can make it while we're doing this, he'll pop in. Today we are going to discuss the week that was. So we're going to go over Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, Trump saying that he wants a third term, Russia talking about trying to interfere with elections again, and what the Dow and S&P 500 decreasing, and the kind of things that we think will be influencing politics going forward. So let's go ahead and start the show. So Matteo and Sean, I guess the biggest piece of news would be remiss to not go with it first would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. What are you guys' initial thoughts on it?
She's a good justice, did a lot of stuff. She's developed quite the cult following that's almost taken on a bigger life than Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
She did a lot of good things. For the ACLU, she started what was it, the women's some like I don't even know.
It's like an equal justice initiative. Kind of
Some
thing.
shit.
They started the gender equal justice initiative within the ACLU. Basically, she is basically the reason why we have some semblance of gender parity within the law. She argued a lot of cases in front of the Supreme Court and also lower courts that pushed the needle forward in that direction. So she will be definitely missed. That is an understatement.
Yeah, it's really sad to see her go. Unfortunately, until somewhat recently, I was kind of anti-Ruth, one of those people. I just got caught up in the whole libertarian Republican meme mess somewhat, and I was like, okay, she's a bad chick. There's nothing good about her. She's just a politician, But I've come around. She definitely deserved to be there. She deserved to do the things she did. She did a lot of great work.
Sure.
And I feel bad for what I did about her before.
Yeah, she was important. She was always a good justice. I disagree with a ton of what she says, but most of my problem is just with people who pretty much use her like a t-shirt. Like someone who doesn't listen to like a band wearing a band's t-shirt. That's what most of these people are. So they annoy the shit out of me. And a lot of people mistake that for hatred for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which is probably not even a mistake. They probably just do it because it's easier to argue against someone that way.
I can see that definitely.
Yeah.
So, but what are your guys' thoughts on how this might impact the election? Do you think Trump has already said that he's going to have a nominee picked by the end of the week? We're thinking Friday, it looks like, is what he's been saying, at least the rumors are going around. So what are our initial thoughts about that?
Say it again. I got a message I was reading.
Oh, no problem. So how do we think that's going to affect the political process going forward? Whether do you think Trump is going to get his pick? What do you think his pick's going to be? That sort of thing.
It's just going to make people go rabid. Everyone's going to be the complete hypocrite they pretend to not be. Trump's maybe going to get a pick through. Maybe not. I mean, it's pretty controversial, and it shouldn't be. Like, everyone's under the impression there's some sort of rule that you don't nominate or you don't approve a justice so close to an election. Like, that's absurd. Mitch McConnell was trolling Democrats, and now they just all of a sudden accepted it. It's almost like the people being called socialists now calling themselves socialists. They're like, hell yeah, that's me. It's like,
I mean, to be fair with that one though, like if you're going to like, we just can't approve a nominee that's close to the election, and it's like almost a year out, and then you just turn around like no one cares. Granted, nobody in power really gives a shit about hypocrisy, right?
So, Mitch McConnell was trolling Democrats. He was using Biden's words to troll Democrats. None of what he said was sincerely held, and you shouldn't hold him to his insincere words. It's just, it's absurd.
But it would set a precedent had he meant it. And for a lot of moderate people out there, they would actually kind of agree with that sort of premise. Like, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay,
We got an
okay.
election coming up.
And you're fine with him setting the precedent, but not breaking it when he has the exact same authority as when he made it?
I'm not
I
fine
mean,
with.
that's not
I'm
you.
not fine with it.
I'm no,
Regardless.
not you. I'm talking about to that argument.
I ideally, I would say a lot of people would probably like when he said that, but like, yeah, that makes intuitive sense, right? We have a process to elect a president.
Why does it
I don't
make
know.
intuitive sense?
I
That's
can't say
the process
I can't
is
speak
there.
for other people why they do that. I'm saying,
True.
but I can say that for a lot of people, they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds right, and not go any further than that. And that's
Does it always sound right to them, or when it's time to replace Clarence Thomas, it's going to sound wrong to them? Actually, it might not be an election year, and of course, that's going to be the
this is one of those situations.
Even though that's absurd.
This is one of those situations that's rare, quite frankly. So
it's really rare. The norm is actually that they don't get confirmed by, like, if a Democrat's in office and a Republican Senate is there in their final year in office, or probably their final year, they don't get confirmed. Like, that's the norm. I think the last time a vacancy was created and filled by the opposite party was like in 1888 when Grover Cleveland was president. So the norm is not what everyone's saying the norm is. Like, most of the people who are complaining about this aren't even really political. They come online, they need to express some sort of anger at something. They have this identity, so they know where to go and what to say. And it just becomes some snowball of bullshit where if you actually look at the history, you find out that they're just basically sports fans, but accidentally in politics.
Yeah, this seems
to
be... Go ahead.
Religious people accidentally in politics. One or the other.
I would say it's
this level of
it's tribalism. I'll give you part of that. Part of it is tribalism. It's basically go red team, go blue team, right? Because
I mean, 2007. Do you know who said the Senate should boycott confirmations to the Supreme Court? And this isn't in an election year, or it wasn't that close at all. Pelosi. I mean, let's be serious. And then if you want to go back even further, in 1992, Joe Biden was saying the same thing. So anyone who wants to complain about hypocrisy, it's just a horrible argument. The only thing people should be worried about is what's actually within the Senate's authority. And of course, it's not that. Of course, it's all of a sudden, there's a rule. Mitch McConnell said so back in the day. It's a rule. And it's just absurd. There is no rule. He was trolling you. And you obviously, like, took the bait and you're loving it as well. No, like that hook in your jaw is not even bothering. Not you.
No. I get what you're saying. You're using the general form of you, so I'm not taking it personally.
I do that too much when I'm speaking. I try to say one or oneself when I'm typing, and I can't do it when I'm talking.
Such a hard thing to do because people online, like, for anybody that might just be joining us or whatever, or watch this later, we do, like, me and Mateo, we kind of help run a political debate community on Facebook and trying to branch out to Reddit and other social media and stuff like that. But we've been doing it I've been for like about 2 years, and I think Mateo, you were there since 2015, right? Roughly.
Where? Sorry, I was reading again.
Oh yeah. CSP, like, running the group, right? So, like, it's kind of your baby, and well, damn it, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, right. So when people take things really personal when you use the word you and you're responding to people, and it's just one of those things that's very hard habit to break, and the general form that you're using, but people are like, oh, I didn't say that. What the fuck? And it's just one of those links.
Especially when I'm coming off like aggressive like I am too. That's why I have to constantly say it. I'm like, whoops, hold on. Not you.
One second, hold on. Let me go edit that. Like, so it's definitely a thing. But to your point about the whole tribalistic politics thing, yeah, it's definitely part of the problem. I don't even know if you'd necessarily call it a problem so much as it's kind of just a fact of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be an adversarial system. So, I mean, to an extent, I mean, people have been getting pretty extreme now. I mean, a lot of, like, liberal Democrats, not even like centrist Democrats these days, get accused of being like Republican plants or like just about to like shift over, not even Republican. It's like shift over to the alt-right, you know. They're not even, it's just a weird way to like view life. I'm not sure if this is how it's always been, because I mean, I haven't been around politics too long, so maybe this is just a cycle of life that's existed since humans could speak.
Yeah, I would probably say that it's one of those things that's definitely kind of a fact of life, to be honest with you. Sean, you've been a little bit quiet. What are your thoughts about what we've been saying?
I don't really have much to add to this one.
That's fair.
You guys covered it pretty well there. It is like this fanaticism. It's like the same people that like you said do obsess over sports and things like that, and then suddenly they're like, oh, politics now. We're in politics.
Yeah, exactly. Some people don't even like watch sports. Like this is like I talk about it all the time. Like a lot of people have like a God-shaped hole in their heart, and they try to fill it with like sports. It could be politics. It could be,
or they fill it with all three.
yeah, I was about to say it really could be a combo. Like this,
that tends to be the case with like the really strong Trump supporters. They're obsessed with all three: religion, Trump, politics, and sports.
You can start a fight with them by talking shit about their team.
Yeah.
So
they like the bandwagon.
Yeah, the bandwagon effect's definitely a thing. You see that with elections too, like with the primary. A lot of people saw Joe like come out from South Carolina, and then a lot of people were like, "Well, I guess it's Joe."
The bandwagon effect. I blame a lot of Trump's success in the Republican primaries on that, actually, because, like I always say, the Republican establishment vote was there. It was just divided by 15, and then you have like the I don't pay attention to politics vote, or whatever you want to call it, reading is for idiots vote. And there was just more of them. It made Trump look like a really strong candidate. And then people all of a sudden are like, for whatever reason, I don't even know what the micro mechanics are of it, but they all just kind of flocked to him after that. Not all, actually. He really wasn't even that strong of a candidate in the primaries.
Right. But I mean, with the way our voting system is, it was enough to win. Winner take, first past the post, winner take all shit system. And if you want to know why it's a shit system, we do have a video up on YouTube. Go ahead and check us out at Crowdsource Politics on the YouTube. So, the tube to you, I guess. Whatever, I'm making stupid jokes. But yeah, so that's definitely very much a thing, and I'd like to see it go away. I think we've kind of covered Ruth a decent amount. What I guess another thing. So the major indexes.
We should say. Sorry, hold on.
Go for it.
I mean, I didn't say enough nice things. We should say some really nice things about her, because she really is like a huge piece of American history. Like, considering the time that she really came into things, like the way we look at life, when we hear like claims of sexism, a lot of time, like we're like, yeah, it's bad. We don't think it exists. But back then it was like literally systematic. Like a lot of times people will call something systemic and it's not. It's just, it makes them sound intellectual, I guess. But like when it comes to where Ruth actually went in to American politics and into law, it was part of the system. It was codified. There was certain like discriminations against women that like people literally are just, it was like old hat to them. They're like, what? That's wrong. So she did a lot. And I'm not saying, it would never happen without her, but at the same time, it's easy to see it maybe not happening as well without her, especially at the ACLU. Her work at the ACLU is actually, I heard an interview today, someone was arguing they think that's even more important than what she did in the courts. That may or may not be true, but it just goes to show you how much of a heavyweight she was even before the court.
I mean, she was also, I don't know how much of a victim you can say, but she also very much experienced that herself, because she was, head of the Harvard Law Review, and then she couldn't find like jobs to get partnerships or not partnerships. Sorry, that was way down the line. But even get hired at like professional type quality law firms that would happen normally for like men. And she ended up going with ACLU in the academic track because of that barrier, and that's why part of the reason why she fought so much for gender equality, that she experienced it directly herself. So I guess the next thing we should probably talk about is the drop in the major indexes. The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Index have both lost about 3% of their value in the last week, from the previous high of the week before. What's the implications of that? Why do we think that might be happening?
Valuations are high. I mean, it should have came down anyway. There doesn't have to be a catalyst for it, but the catalyst here would be COVID numbers returning. A lot of people are starting to worry the UK might go into another lockdown.
Oh, I think that was confirmed, wasn't it?
Oh, it was confirmed? Okay. Well, last I heard, they were just talking about locking down again.
I'll have to look
And
it up.
we're just thinking ahead, especially like if you know how to value stocks, most of these stocks are trading like twice what they should. And we're talking about like a $1.5 trillion company. They have to come down. I mean, with or without some sort of bad event, they should be coming down. So it's almost good in a way, but then again, it's not, because a lot of cyclicals, which I mean, a lot of people out there might not know what that means. Those are like never mind. It's going to get too technical.
No,
Basically,
get into it a little bit, man. Part of our
consumer
job is
cyclicals have been hit a lot more too, and they aren't necessarily the tech stocks and everything. So some of it has to do with more real fear of the economy as well.
Okay.
But a lot of this is just people taking profits when they should have. The first sign of a hiccup, you're going to have people skimming off the top, because anyone who looks at these valuations knows it's just about to fall. They just need a reason, and take your profits before it happens, or at least in the first 10% of it happening.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense to me too. I think the COVID numbers going up pretty much everywhere.
Oh, actually, some of this is, I think, maybe even tied into Ginsburg, because think about like the Senate now. The Senate, the Congress, they're going to be really tied up. Any kind of future stimulus that was probably baked into the markets, a lot of people were betting on stimulus being there, because, I mean, why not? Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, when they're going to be, you have the Senate fighting the way they're going to fight. I mean, Jesus, if you thought it was bad with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, what do you think that's going to do when the sacred cow is now getting replaced? They're just going to go so fucking crappy. Like, it's just going to be bad. And maybe we'll even get a shutdown government over it. It's going to be bad, I think. But that's also part of the Ginsburg equation.
I thought the government shutdown was the negotiations basically averted it already. They kicked the can.
Oh, they're good?
I think so. Let me go ahead and look that up really quick while we're doing this.
Until the next election? Okay, cool. Then
shut down.
I mean, that's good news.
While you're looking that up, I found a Reuters poll came out the other day. 62% of adults believe that the SCOTUS vacancy should be filled by the winner of the election. 23% disagree. I think that's the moderates coming out voicing their opinion there.
Can you repeat those numbers again? I think I might have
62 believe that it should be filled by the winner of the election.
Oh, okay.
And then 23% disagree. And that's including half of Republicans, according to what I'm seeing here.
Okay. Well, that's new information. The last thing that I had seen was the majority of people wanted it filled by the current sitting president. So I guess it might have just completely flipped, or that other poll was not as good. I trust Rutgers.
Yeah, this was a Reuters.
I don't care what they say.
Poll. Also notable, Bloomberg Law. I didn't know they had a law website, but Bloomberg Law just posted 30 minutes ago. Trump zeroes in on Judge Barnett as the likely pick.
It was going to either be her or I remember the name, but the woman from Florida.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't
remember her name either.
Talking about Barrett?
Judge. No, Barrett is the
Barrett's the one that he's
evangelical one that wants to get rid of.
Oh, the Cuban American he's deciding to go with?
No, he's going with. I'm saying that it was either going to be Barrett or this other woman, and this other woman is Barba Lagoa.
I think she's Cuban, right?
Yeah, she's Cuban.
Cuban American?
Yeah, Cuban American. She's also a fairly recent appointee to the federal judge bench. I don't remember which district.
Can someone send Dylan the link to the Skype?
Yeah,
I thought I did.
I'll grab it again. Sorry, buddy. Apparently Dylan can join us. Gotta get him in.
So yeah, this says Trump is looking at considering as many as 5 candidates, but according to close sources of Bloomberg, that he's zeroing in on Judge Barrett.
Dylan, you can go ahead and keep join us while you get your video set up. While you get into Skype, we mute Skype and use Discord for audio. If you're already in Discord, go ahead. But yeah, so I don't know. I personally don't like Barrett. I don't know enough about Barbara Lagoa to have an opinion on her one way or the other. I am probably leaning to no on both because I don't really like the Federalist Society's ideological leanings, but that's not enough of a reason to say no every time. But with Barrett, she is fairly religious in a way that I am not comfortable with.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it's very cult-like religion, like almost the worst
that's
kind.
one of my biggest fears with conservative judges is their how central to, I guess, let's say, like, all truth their own religion is,
Yeah.
or their own interpretation of their religion. Even it's a really, really big downside to conservative justices.
No, for sure.
I'm not saying they'll all vote that way, but
no, I got you.
I mean, when you're talking about, he's the King of Kings, he's the truth of all truth, he's omnipotent, omnipresent. I mean, let's be serious. You're not going to say, "Hey, you take second seat to the United States government, God." So, I mean, if you actually believe that stuff, you're probably going to lead to some bad ideas.
Yeah.
And the people, I'm not disparaging anybody. It's just the way it is. If you believe that God intervenes in the world to punish people, then you're more likely to try to shape a society or a government or law or what have you in a way that avoids that, in your own personal opinion. I
wonder if Trump's picking a woman almost to avoid the inevitable rape accusations from Democrats. That's not a joke. That's dead serious.
Well,
that's not a joke at all, and that's not far from the truth at all.
I know.
That's what they do. That's what they go straight to, and it's always extreme victimhood. And then you get the death threats going to the Republicans, and they'll never care about the death threats, even though before that, when it was happening to a Democrat, it was just death threats. Oh God, it's happening again. Like, it's just, it kills me, man. Like, why can't people just be cool? That's stupid. That's vague.
Bit of that, like the rape thing might come up if it was a dude, but I think it's more so just like
sort of boofing anything.
Sort of a troll on the libs, like, oh, we're picking a woman. Look what we did. That's what you wanted to do. You wanted a woman. The woman's good every time, right? That's what you say. That's what's going on in their minds over there.
It's going to neuter a lot of their already packaged arguments against them. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it doesn't neuter any of.
You know how much privilege arguments are going to be made? Please, there's going to be so much of the cliches.
Those are still going to be made.
Oh, it's still going to be out there, but I said it neutered some of them. Some of their cookie cutter arguments aren't going to be useful. It's going to make them look weird if they use they're very, very sex based arguments, which is ironic considering that their goal is almost. I'm just talking shit now. I'm just going to go on a tangent.
Well, everybody, as you can see, we are very opinionated and have a diverse amount of opinions on this cast. Hopefully the group shows that as well to a certain extent. So go ahead and join the wider community. Hit us up on Facebook and Discord, and you can follow us. What I didn't say previously is that we do have a podcast that we release twice a month. We are hoping to do more of that in the future. But you can generally get a new episode on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And you can hear us on your favorite podcast streaming service. We like Spotify simply because it goes there quicker, but you can get us on iTunes, Google Play, and others. So check us out.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, hey Dylan, what's going on, man? let me get your video in. Hold on, it takes a second for me to do. Just replace.
Lots going on. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and join our Facebook group as well.
Yeah,
there we go.
And definitely hop on the Discord. We can actually pop you in, and you can ask questions or maybe join in on the combo.
The Discord's awesome. I like Discord better than Facebook.
Yeah, I wish everybody
should
would
get more people on Discord.
It's definitely getting more and more popular. I'm glad to see it. Seems like everyone has one now.
Yeah, my one buddy who actually I play Command and Conquer with. It's funny because he's like a baby boomer. He's my age, but when it comes to technology, he's like a baby boomer. He doesn't even have social media. And all of a sudden, he's like, "Yeah, man, I'll invite you on Discord." I was like,
What?
So it must be getting somewhere.
Yeah, it's getting out there.
So Dylan, before you joined us, we talked a bit about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, what that might mean for politics and everything like that, and we talked about the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq industrial average decreasing about 3% since the last time over the last week. What are some of the things that you would like to talk about tonight?
Well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I'm a little disappointed that I missed that conversation, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that in our next episode. What else do you have on your list?
Let me go ahead and look.
I think we were going to do the TikTok WeChat thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's
yeah,
do that. TikTok is about to be banned, everybody. All these zillennials and Z Zoomers. All these
Wasn't it as of yesterday, as of Sunday?
Yeah, I don't think it's
I think a judge blocked it.
Yeah, it's under injunction right now. So it's still going on. I still see videos popping up on Facebook, like whatever. But the federal government under Trump is still trying to block those apps, WeChat and TikTok, from being used. Why is that? I mean, I think we all know, but
before we talk about why, I want to say like how bad of a move that is. Like that's just going to piss off so many young people, like so many. Like that's just a bad move. Like that's going to make them be like definitely not voting for Trump. Like even a lot of his supporters love and use TikTok all day, every day.
I mean,
it makes
people
no
don't really
sense.
vote though. So
yeah,
but you've got like 40, 50-year-old women all over this thing now.
That's
TikTok,
Yeah, it seems like it's mostly just downside.
It's all
But
down.
Like not a lot of upside either.
Alone,
but
like the young people love TikTok so much, certain ones that will be their only motivator to go vote at this point.
I think the kids who would be motivated to vote for Joe Biden because TikTok was banned are probably not voting for Trump in the first place.
Right, but every little bit of numbers helps, right? So if it increases voter turnout by 1%,
that 1%
going
would
to
be huge.
And it's massively
That'd be huge. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll have that much of an impact, but it's whatever hate it stokes among young people, I feel like it'll be just balanced out by kind of the anti-Chinese sentiment that it'll stoke among people on the right. Like, yeah, fuck them Chinese over there with their apps and their technology that steals our data. And yeah, I mean, it's I think it'll pretty much, it might be a net gain for him even, but I don't think it'll have that much of an impact either way. It's red meat.
In terms of voting, I could definitely see it being a net gain just because of who votes. Just on average, young people don't.
Well, I mean, and it also puts Democrats in a position where if they publicly oppose this, then it looks like they're like pro-Chinese technology. Like it's just not a good position for Democrats to be in.
No, that's very true. And personally, I've avoided getting it, even though all those videos are funny, because it is primarily a Chinese company. Before I started podcasting and everything, I was in the military as a signal intelligence analyst. And so I'm very cognizant of where kind of data is collected and stuff like that. And I'm just not comfortable having my information in the hands of a Chinese company that we know.
Anthony Strain is very involved in the Tibetan independence movement, so he's got to lay low.
Oh, do you remember those from the 90s, like Free Tibet stickers? What happened to that?
From the 90s?
All that stuff's still going on.
More than the
China's
90s,
just steamrolling them even more now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, as far as American,
I think Trump doesn't want to piss him off too much, hoping there's a deal. So there's certain things he doesn't talk about.
Right.
And that's probably one of them.
That's fair.
Like after Hong Kong, he stayed pretty quiet. Like if he thinks if he could leverage placating them or something, he'll do it. And that seems like, I mean, obviously, if he wanted to go after China, that would be an easy one to do. So for him not to really bring that up that much is probably a bargaining chip.
No, I can see that.
Bargaining chip for what?
Trade deals.
Gotta sell
Like
more
they're
soybeans.
Yeah, like China will be like, "This is a red line. You do that, and we're dropping everything." Then Trump will be like, "Okay," and then he talks about something else, like I don't even know anything other than like
Okay,
Hong
yeah.
Kong. Pretty
So
much.
he's going to use it like hang that over their heads, or
No,
like
like he's gonna leave it
like
alone because
coerce?
he doesn't want to get completely shut out. Like a lot of this tit for tat stuff
Mhm.
that they're doing in the trade talks, it's not as big as free Tibet would be, or even just hosting the Dalai
Mhm.
Lama would be. Like they would just absolutely flip. That is one of the most sensitive things in China. So if you really want to just crash all trade talks instead of just maybe poke them a little bit and prod them and go with free Tibet, or at least just show sympathy toward
Yeah,
Tibet.
Tibet or
Tibet.
Yeah.
Uyghurs.
But his goal
Taiwan.
isn't to his goal isn't to piss off China. It's to invigorate his base. Like
Well, his
it,
goal is to get the trade deal done, and that's why
is
he's
that
not trying to
is
piss off
that
China.
is that a
That
goal
was a
of his?
huge thing of his.
But is
Yeah,
that
that's one of
do you-
those I promise things of his. Like he built an identity, a presidential identity off of it.
how much? What has he said about it in the last year? What's the progress on any sort of trade deal with China? Other than I feel like no, I don't feel like he
there's no
actually works
progress.
towards any. No, I don't feel like he actually works towards any of this. He just talks about it as much as talking about it benefits him without actually putting in any of the work.
I mean, that definitely sounds like Trump. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little weird how there are certain things he'll just prod them on all day, but then like the absolute red line items that he always just leaves off the table. I don't know. Trump is very transactional. I think he knows. I think he's doing that on
Yeah.
purpose.
Oh, he's certainly transactional. But his I don't know, to say that he actually cares about getting a trade deal through with China. There's no outline for that. We don't know anything about what that would actually look like.
Oh, it wouldn't be
And
a real trade deal. He just wants some sort of
no,
agreement to tout as a deal. I'm not
right,
saying
something he
an
can say
actual
on
deal.
camera. Yeah,
Yeah, he doesn't want to completely ruin chances of something he promised. It's like building the wall. If he knew if being nice as hell to Nancy Pelosi would mean getting the wall, you would see him being a sweetheart to Nancy Pelosi. It's just he has things he wants to get done. He's not a complete he's
are
not
you
a complete
sure?
moron. Yeah,
Yeah, I knew what
Like
you were going to say. I was like,
Kush, every couple of days, Kushner will remind him of what he promised to do, and then he's like, "Oh, we got to do that."
Oh right, yeah.
That sounds like me.
I think it is interesting with the whole WeChat and TikTok thing. I don't think like I said, like we said, I don't think it's going to affect the election. But as far as where foreign adversaries are concerned on this, and this can bring us into the next topic, with the whole who is kind of backing who, but not really. So there's been additional evidence released over the last week that the Russians are doing another disinformation campaign to help Trump. Been released by a couple of intel agencies, and I think one private company as well has done some investigations into that. And China is like anti-Trump. So they're not really like trying to help Biden with stuff, but they're putting out propaganda online through their media organizations and some fake accounts.
I'm not even so sure
Right.
China is anti-Trump. Like, don't get me wrong, Trump is bad for China, but in the long run, Trump is worse for America.
Yeah.
And their hegemony. So
with these,
I mean, the long game would be get Trump in there. Trump's going to give them more market share to grab as far as global power goes.
I wouldn't necessarily be sure about that. I mean, sure, they might think in the long run Trump's bad for the U.S., but yeah, he killed United States participation in TPP. That it's not. I mean, it's
like
not
the United States participation in NATO. It's almost all of it.
Well,
Or it would be almost all of it now.
Yes and no, but TPP is still going to be around when Trump's out of office, whether that's next year or 4 years after that. and the United States may still join it after that.
Sure.
So
And that's what
I think China's greatest worry is that yes, Trump will damage the U.S. I think their worry is that he'll hurt China more because he's totally unpredictable, and that's a legitimate concern. If I were seeing things from their perspective, like I would want. I mean, they've made gains, right? China's made gains over the last 20 years, and
precisely because of Trump.
well, over the last 20 years, I mean,
20 years. Sorry, I interrupted
4
you.
years. Yeah, over the last 20 years, I mean, they've
Trump's
made
New York
gains.
real estate deals really propelled China.
There's no reason for China to believe that if Biden were in office, that it would hurt them, right? I don't see Biden being as harmful to China as Trump could possibly be, and I think they'd rather take the safe bet.
I don't know. The one thing Democrats haven't pushed back a lot on is Trump's China moves. Of course, they're not going to be as damaging to China because it's not like a child with a gun. But at the same time, it's going to be like an adult with not a gun.
Yeah,
that was a horrible metaphor. But all I'm saying is, Trump is definitely bad for China. He's focused on them. He's trying to go for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to change that much with Biden. But I also think what happens with Biden is the global community respects him more. He has more sway. Like,
that's true.
He could contain China. Trump can't. Trump can only create enemies with the people we want to be friends with, at least. I mean, I'm sure he could get Duterte on his side or something.
So here's the other thing, which is that China's strategic goals. China doesn't actually care if the U.S. is harmed, if the U.S. no longer a superpower. They only care about benefiting China, and they only care about hurting the U.S. as much as it benefits China. So even if they think Trump hurts the U.S. more, that's not necessarily going to be good for them. Does that make sense?
I'm saying yeah, but I'm saying they're going to see that as to their benefit. Like, think about all these African and Middle Eastern countries who are just like, no, I don't want American there. But China rolls in with all their loans and they're like, oh, thank God, it's reasonable. Meanwhile, China's only reasonable by comparison. They're going to take their ports if they don't pay those loans back and all that stuff. And they also don't even let them hire like locals. They'll send Chinese people in there to do the jobs. That's actually beside the point, though. All I'm saying is China has, I think, a lot more to gain from an incompetent America going after them than a competent America going after them, because Biden's not going to really stop this. I mean, it's in America's best interest. TPP was created for this reason. The Democrats are not, like, this is the one tune that they're aligned with when it comes to Trump. Trump's just an idiot and says really stupid things that people can't side with.
Mm-hmm. I think all it would take is for Trump to get a bug up his ass about what's happening in the South China Sea, or weaponize the Uyghur genocide against them for domestic policy purposes, and that's not something China would necessarily have control over.
True.
So that kind of instability, having foreign policy based on the emotions of Donald J. Trump is just not a good place for them to be, period. And I think they're very aware of that.
I think the Uyghur issue is going to actually get highlighted more with the Biden presidency, just given the nature of like arguments that Democrats and Republicans tend to lean on. Mm-hmm. Like, Trump Republicans will mostly go to the economic side of the argument, whereas Democrats are going to go to the humanitarian side. And that big bullseye on the Uyghur situation there, because it's horrible what they're doing. It's literal concentration camps.
I mean, it's ethnic cleansing bordering on genocide.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely absurd.
I mean, they're
like, I really wish the global community was able to do something about it without like saying, oh, I can't wait till America's got a better president.
Yeah, it's
like, how much should we have to like harass the UK to get out of like a deal with Huawei? Like, how is that even a controversial thing? Like China's not an evil or an enemy, but at the same time, they have a real penchant for spying. Like, they're coming out, they still teach themselves about like the 100 years of shame or whatever they call it, where basically like they were just destroyed by one world nation after another. So like their identity is one of distrust. So they're going to spy on people. So it's not like, they're evil and conniving and like fuck everyone else. It's more just like, they feel threatened. They don't want anything to happen. Like, they have that history in their mind, and that's part of their identity. And we need to just act accordingly.
Yep.
Agreed.
No, for sure. It's just, that's a lot of information to go over. We should probably do an episode on China again.
On China again? No, we never had an
We
episode
tried
on
that,
China.
and it was just
I don't know what you're
10
talking
hours.
Oh God.
Never happened.
Never happened. I not again. We should try it though. We should try. But
I mean, yeah, it's a great topic. No matter what you want to cover, really.
I think this is.
Actually,
go ahead.
No, it's actually really off topic, so I should have said it. But there's a lot of waterways going into South China that China controls, and that has a lot of geopolitical ramifications. That would be a really good topic. But then again, I don't know if we really have the audience for that.
It's so niche.
Yeah, that's pretty niche stuff. Like,
we could probably do the one.
I took a course in Southeast Asia, so it's like I sometimes forget that no one
did the same thing. I took religion and politics when I was in college, and so I could talk about like how Islam and Hindu nationalism and a bunch of other different religions meld with politics, and just like, no one cares about that shit. But one of the other things that came up recently that is getting just a little bit of play, I haven't seen it been blasted all over social media, probably because it's just like another It's basically Panama Papers 2.0, where a bunch of banks have been caught laundering $3 trillion, $30 trillion, something like that.
it was, I think, like 3 trillion or something over the course of 20 years or something, I believe.
Yeah. I was wondering.
Like, I don't think this is that much of a story as much as it just seems like it, because it's like bankers, illegal activity. I have a feeling a lot of these people are already punished. Like, this is almost like they're like solved cases, and someone got a hold of the documents, and they started reading it. They're like, oh, hell yeah. And meanwhile, it's just boring. It might not be. There might be something there.
Vincent Money. I don't want to. Don't play a video. But yeah, so Deutsche Bank execs missed money laundering red flags. So this is a ton of stuff. $10 billion in Deutsche Bank.
I think it was Bank of New York Mellon, JP Morgan as well. A couple of them. I mean, but it was mostly Deutsche Bank. By and far.
Let's be real though. Like, if there's money on the table, are they going to let it go? Like, just because it's immoral to do so?
Yeah, they do it all the time.
They do.
Banks are completely fine most of the time. It's this idea that they're all just like criminals is a cartoon.
I wasn't meaning to imply that. I'm just saying there's a ton of money on the table, so people are going to end up taking it, and it's going to end up being a thing. Like, all you need is like 1% of banks to do it, and it ends up getting washed through the entire system. I'm pulling those numbers out of my ass. I'm just trying to make a general point here that people will take up the opportunity if it's granted. So, what else?
So I just want to
go ahead.
I just want to add a couple of the biggest takeaways that I've seen from the FinCEN leak thing. So apparently, there's this Russian woman. She's some kind of Russian elite. She's been funding Boris Johnson, Conservative Party. The other big story out of it is North Korea has been laundering money through U.S. banks as much as $174 million over several years.
That's interesting.
JP Morgan is involved in that, using an array of shell companies.
Was it Jamie Dimon?
And also, in some cases, they were assisted by Chinese business.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, any money that goes into North Korea is going to be through China.
Yeah, China's heavily involved there. Yeah. I
mean, China has.
They might as well own North Korea.
Well, they do. They practically do. They basically own all of North Korea's natural resources. They got them on pennies on the dollar in order to stop South Korea from actually taking over as a full thing. It's one of the deals that they made with the Chinese government. And why we ultimately, didn't lose, but fought to a stalemate because the Chinese kicked us back to the demilitarized zone. So what else do we want to talk about? We got about 10 minutes left before we're supposed to call this time. Don't leave me in awkward silence now.
Well, you're the host. Pick a topic.
pick the last 8. Kidding. Oh man, I need more show notes. Awkward.
So the supposed doctor in Georgia that was forcibly sterilizing detained women.
Oh,
They
there you go.
they apparently identified them.
The women or the doctor?
It's at the top of news on Reddit for the week. It was reported by Prism Reports. I'm trying to see exactly who it was here.
Do we even know what was actually going on there? Because I mean, the story about like almost a Nazi concentration camp doctor, while not impossible, sounds almost like it's too
well.
It is far.
Like it's a very extraordinary claim, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I feel like. I mean, that's something I feel like you should be able to prove.
This wouldn't.
So I hope something comes of that.
Sorry, Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I mean, I think you're right, which is that the story that came out kind of made these allegations, but the actual instances that it gave were fairly weak. It gave one instance of the surgeon, apparently it's the same doctor for all of this. The surgeon removed the wrong ovary in one case, and in another case, or at least one other case, they didn't use proper procedures for finding a translator for the patient, right? But other than that, it didn't really give many specific examples. It just kind of laid out these claims that this is this massive thing that's going on, and it didn't.
They created a narrative and then had factual instances of something happening with uterus removal, and it's just like, why not just light wildfires? But I mean, it could be true.
It could be true. Yeah, could be true. But we need more information, basically.
Yeah. As a natural critical thinker, I almost wonder: is this just a crappy doctor? Because it is a lot more of these procedures than should be happening. That's, I don't think, is hard to argue against. It's weird how this procedure has happened so many times in that area, and I think from this one doctor too.
It's been
how many times?
It's been this one doctor.
He
pretty much always recommends surgery. And this isn't the first time that people have had issues with this particular doctor. One of our group members is very intimately familiar with him, being of that kind of area, because she works as a social worker in Georgia. And this is one of those things that's been part of the rumor mill since about 2009 or so, maybe a little earlier, of this particular doctor and this particular ICE facility having these kind of issues.
So there's definitely cause for concern and cause for suspicion. So I don't want to sound like I'm downplaying it too much, but I am a contrarian. I am a critical thinker, so I will play with possibilities until I know.
No, I find that to be completely fair, but we have to be fair to our listeners and let them know that this is one of those situations where this particular facility, like Rachel Maddow, basically made her
it's definitely suspicious
on reporting about this facility in the past. Like that's one of the things that brought her into prominence, and now we're hearing about it again.
Wait, this facility? How old is the facility?
It's fairly old. It's been around since I think 2006.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, ICE facility, Georgia hysterectomy. I'll put Rachel Maddow, but yeah, she reported on this at some point in the past. I've seen the video of it.
I just hope there's an oversight. A way to really check on this, because if that is happening to these people for whatever reason, that's so bad. Like when you're putting people, like considering the circumstances, you want to be as delicate with these people as possible. Like you don't want to treat them like prisoners. You don't want to. It's so delicate considering what we're doing. Like I don't know.
There's just been so many different issues throughout the years with ICE, just in general, and CBB.
Well, yeah, the standards for becoming an ICE agent are, I think, the lowest of like any law enforcement agency we have.
They ramped up recruitment after 9/11 DHS when it got reformed underneath DHS, and their standards were basically non-existent. You had a pulse, they shoot a gun. Here you go, right? And then what kind of people sign up to be Border Patrol and ICE people?
Yeah, you have to the pool of people who are signing up for ICE. I'm going to say it's within the pool because obviously there are people who just they want to enforce the law. They care about their society, but within that pool, you're definitely going to get people who are
You're gonna have
more
scumbags.
focused. You're going to, some real racist people in there, some real shitbags, some real just hard nationalists in there. And they're going to come up with really illogical reasons why they're allowed to apply force on these people. And they're going to treat them like fucking prisoners almost. And even if they are prisoners, like, you shouldn't be treating prisoners wrong anyway. So I don't know why I'm using that.
No, I understand. Yeah, I get what you're saying, dude. Like it's
they're
it's
gonna
a
treat
mess.
them like
But given these circumstances, it's like crossing the border illegally, sure, it is a crime, even though a lot of people like to say it's not. It's not a crime if you didn't do it on purpose. If you did it on purpose, it's a crime. But at the same time, just the optics alone, like, let's say you don't even care about these people, just the optics, like, you want to make it look like, you're taking care of these people and everything, and instead it's like forced uterus removal, or maybe not forced, but we'll have to see. But it's just the
Questionable
foil blankets, all that
circumstances of
stuff.
it being done. At the very
Yeah, it's like, it really does cause suspicion. So I just really hope we get to the bottom of it. I hope there's a way to really dig into any files or anything and figure out what was going on, because that's serious. That's a serious allegation.
My understanding is that the woman that has come forward, the nurse, is protected under the Whistleblower Act, and she made an official report. So we won't see a lot of that. We probably won't see a lot of this until Congress conducts its investigation, or at least the IG conducts its investigation. Once an official whistleblower report is made, the amount of public information that's done while under investigation is pretty small. Won't be surprised if it takes a year or so before we hear more, unless somebody else comes forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
I'd rather have her
disparaging
protected.
it. Yeah, I'm not disparaging it at all. Letting people know. All right, on some other news. Wow, that's depressing as fuck. All right, let's go with some more depressing news, because that's the kind of world we live in. According to Yelp, almost 60% of small businesses are now closed permanently.
60%? Is that what you said?
Almost 60%
Yeah,
of businesses
that's right.
closures that have happened. Okay, let me rephrase. That was bad phrasing. Of the businesses that have closed since COVID, 60% are now almost permanently closed. So close to 60% are.
Wait, almost permanently?
They will most likely be permanently closed, is what the article is getting at.
It's basically, let me rephrase again, because I'm apparently terrible at this today. Of the businesses,
I just wanted to make sure, because I wasn't.
Yeah. Of the businesses that have closed since COVID, there's, out of that number, almost 60% of them are permanently closed. So it's like 58% of those businesses are now shuttered completely.
And what percent of all small businesses is that? Small businesses that closed for COVID?
Is that after the ones that opened? Is it 60? I'd have to.
Are
I hate that.
currently? Yeah.
Okay, so Yelp measured businesses whose closure have become permanent. That number has steadily increased over the past 6 months, now reaching 97,966, representing 60% of closed businesses that won't be reopening. As of August 31st, 163,735 businesses have indicated on Yelp that they have closed, a 23% increase since mid-July. So there you go. That gives you
we're definitely going to need some stimulus.
There are 30 million small businesses in the U.S. So 90,000 is actually a relatively small number. If it's that doesn't seem right, though, because it seems like if it's 60% of small businesses that have closed to COVID, it seems like there should be more businesses closed to COVID.
They might be defining businesses by job numbers. A lot of these people come up with weird definitions that make sense once you get into what they're saying.
All right, let me just go ahead and start reading some of this article out loud so that we actually have what we're doing. So for anybody that is curious, I am currently reading this from, and I'll drop it in the chat. Navigate back to the chat. There we go.
Cite it verbally.
NBC News as of September 16th. Yelp on Wednesday released its latest economic average report, revealing business closures across the U.S. are increasing as a result of the coronavirus pandemic economic toll. As of August 31st, 163,735 businesses have indicated on Yelp that they have closed, a 23% increase since mid-July. Yelp also measured businesses whose closures have become permanent. That number has steadily increased over the past 6 months, now reaching 97,966, representing 60% of closed businesses that won't be reopening.
Okay, so that's just sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's just businesses on Yelp.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's not
that makes
all
more
businesses.
sense now.
Yeah.
Not all businesses. Sorry, I thought I prefaced that enough. I'll continue reading the article. Overall, Yelp's data shows that business closures have continued to rise, with a 34% increase in permanent closures since our last report in mid-July. Justin Norman, Yelp's vice president of data science, told CNBC. Yelp's September report marked 6 months since March 1st, the date that Yelp considered to be the beginning of the business crisis. In order to gather closure data, Yelp monitors changes in businesses' hours of descriptions on its app, offering an immediate localized view of the impact of the pandemic has had on small businesses. Despite the hard hit the businesses have certainly taken, we've seen the home, local, professional, automotive services have been able to withstand the effect of the pandemic better than other industries. Home and professional services, such as landscapers, contractors, and lawyers, see a much lower closure rate than clothing stores and even home decor businesses. Auto and towing services are reported a relatively low closure rate. Consumers still need these services, Norman said, though the rise of virtual consultations and contactless or social distance services, these businesses have been particularly resilient during this time. I don't think I'm going to finish the old article, but that gives the context of it.
Yeah, don't do that.
So if we treat that as like a sample, right? And you think of all small businesses that have closed due to COVID, do you think it's roughly around 60% are not going to be reopening at this point? 60% of those that are still closed? Because if you
mean like
Yeah,
ever,
I don't know
or
about
do you
60,
mean?
but
Sorry, Sean, I
What do you
talked
mean?
over you.
oh, you're fine. I don't know if it would. It's definitely a good sample, I would say, of probably what it probably well reflects what's going on outside of the Yelp circle as well. But it's probably not quite 60, maybe 40 to 50.
Yeah, I would say that's probably Yelp is probably overrepresenting that number because I feel like restaurants are probably overrepresented on
I
Yelp
could see
food
that.
service industry, and they would have a higher closure rate because of COVID.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, restaurants were demolished,
Destroyed. Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
and I mean they're already sensitive to begin with. That restaurants, the fail rate on those things is insane.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why anyone starts a restaurant.
Passion projects for the most part.
Yeah, pretty much. I know a guy who actually opened a restaurant, and he's just like so into it. It's awesome and it's successful, but I feel like that's so rare.
You do it for the guts and glory. I also feel like if you know what you're doing, starting a restaurant isn't as risky as the full set of restaurants. The closure rate necessarily
True.
says.
There's probably a ton of people who are just like, I want a restaurant.
Right, I'm going to open a coffee shop, and then it fails in a year.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
No, it's definitely like a lot of retired people think of like, I'm going to run my own business when I'm retired and sink, a portion of their retirement money into it. So.
And also, if you're retired, why the hell would you want to run a business? Like,
Yeah.
go do something else with your time. Fish. I don't care.
A person like me just wants to sit on a beach and stare at the sky all day, where people like have to like actually keep working. I just want to fucking wait to die when I retire.
Well, everybody, I am sad to say that we are out of time. Thank you all so much for joining us. You can catch us every Monday at 8 Eastern, going from this Monday forward. Also, be sure to check out our podcast on your favorite streaming services, where we release 2 episodes a month, generally speaking on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And as always, keep your head up through the political storm.